Space Quest III: The Pirates of Pestulon is a 1989 graphic adventure game by Sierra Online and the third game in the Space Quest series. I'm Larry McFeely, and I played this game on an Amiga 500 back in the day. And now, with the help of the new A500 Mini, I'm going to play it again with a speedy delivery, which basically means that we're going to zip through some parts that you don't necessarily need to watch in real time. This game is creative, witty, and full of challenges. As you can already hear, the game has well-written music from artist Bob Siebenberg, who was also the drummer for the band Supertramp. Space Quest III was also one of the first games ever with sound card support, so it's truly a different experience on each of the different platforms it was available on, which I believe was the Tandy Computer, Amiga, Macintosh, and IBM PC. For me, playing this game on an Amiga back in 1989 was life-changing. This game was created by Mark Crow and Scott Murphy, who also created other Sierra hits like King's Quest, Police Quest, and everyone's favorite, Leisure Suit Larry. The game picks up right where Space Quest II leaves off, with our hero, Roger Wilco, in a suspended animation-type sleep reminiscent to the Alien movies. So Roger is asleep inside of this pod, and as it's floating along here, you can see that someone is watching. The music in this game is so great too. I really wanted to make sure that I replayed it on an Amiga because the sound quality you got from an Amiga at the time was superior to the other home computing systems. So we see here that the ship is being scanned by something. We can see that he's lying down inside of the pod. Then we see that a robot is the one scanning the ship, and the pod is basically being pulled in by a tractor beam to the larger ship. But we read here that the ship is being treated as garbage. These guys are just picking it up to clean up the galaxy a little, I guess? As it says, these robots have no regard for organics. Then we see Roger Wilco up close, and the ship is jarred from being put down somewhere on the large galactic freighter. Again, I always thought this was so cool, this drop coming up here.
Where am I?
Because not all ports of the game had the ability to play voice samples. So here we go. He sticks his head out of the ship and looks around to check the surroundings, hops down onto the ground, the door closes, and that's it. We're now on our way to 738 points. Now first you're going to head south, and I have to mention the music again. So good. It didn't sound like this on every port available. The Amiga had its own league of sound card. This is an iconic screen from this game, showing 3 different style spaceships, from a Star Wars TIE Fighter to a Warner Brothers cartoon Acme rocket to the classic UFO from Lost in Space. As we move east one screen, you can see that green Android hand in the background. I'm pretty sure that's a shout out to the Queen album, News of the World. Now you want to position yourself right next to the trash lift, and eventually it will grab you and start taking you up. Once you get to the top, it'll flip you out onto this conveyor belt, and he has this completely shocked look on his face. Now, on the next screen to the east, you have to move quickly or you're going to be thrown into the garbage compactor. So you type in stand and jump. Once you do, you'll be standing up on top of the railing above the conveyor belt. Now, notice how your score is now up to 15 points as we speed things up here and head to the west 2 screens, which puts us at the Grabber. You type enter the grabber to hop in, and you can use your left and right controls to move it around. You don't want to stay in one place for too long or that robot will kill you. The deaths are really funny and clever in this game too. So you head to the left in order to spin back around and go one screen to the east. You'll stop right about here and type press button. The claw will descend and grab the warp motivator. Then it'll head back up on its own right back to you. Now, once it's back, you'll head to the east 3 more screens. Right on this curve here, you'll stop and press the button again. The claws will again descend down to your new ship and drop the warp motivator right into place. Once the claws are back up again, you'll go west 4 screens to take you all the way back to where you left our robot friend. Now pull up to the middle and type exit grabber. And once standing, you can head straight down and you'll fall down the shaft, now with a score of 50 points. You tumble down into a pile of debris in a dark room that has rats in it. Move Roger to the left side of the screen and type grab generator. When you take the generator, the very little light that exists in the room will go dim. Now head back over to the right side of the screen towards the ladder and type climb ladder, and up you go. You spout out in the lower left corner of the History of Spaceships graveyard scene, and from there you head north 1 screen and east 2 screens to the tunnel. And when Roger gets about halfway through the tunnel, he is attacked by a rat who steals the generator back. So it's on the way back down to where you got the generator from. And when you get down there, you go to the left side of the screen and once again type get generator. And this time you won't get mugged by the rats. Also this time, upon leaving the basement room, you can type take ladder because you'll need it again in just a little bit. Head north again and 2 screens east back to the tunnel. And this time, type take wire when you get to the first set of long wires you see on the left side of the screen. Once you get the wire, go 1 more screen east, which will take you to the giant transformer head. You'll want to climb the ladder-style steps through the right eye of the transformer, which brings you down to the screen where we dropped the motivator earlier into the new ship. Once you make your way around to the middle of the screen, you can use your ladder, climb it, and enter the hatch on the top of the spaceship. Now, inside of the spaceship, use the reactor that we dropped off in there earlier, and then use the wire from the tunnel to connect the ship to the reactor. When that's all done, type sit to sit down in the cockpit, but also be sure to type search seat to grab some loose change and extra points. Finally, look at the computer in order to get the ship fired up. First, you'll want to turn on the engines, then the radar, and finally you'll click on takeoff and the ship will shake slightly. It starts rising upward and the computer eventually calls your attention back to it. You'll click on Weapon System to view the weapon screen, and then you'll want to turn on the back shields and fire a shot by clicking Fire. This causes a small portion of the side of the freighter to blow open, and your ship gets shot out like a watermelon seed. Once back in the ship, take another look at the computer system and click on Navigation System. I always thought this was so cool too, because you're now in your own ship that you rigged together and ready to fly throughout the galaxy using this nav system. Click on the Scan button to find other planets and pit stops on the map. The first one you see will be the planet Ortega, but continue scanning until you stop at planet Fleabutt. Click Set Course. And when the computer is ready to, it'll kick you back out to the nav system where you can click Light Speed. One of the coolest, quickest light speed travel scenes in any video game right here. And this happens every time you travel light speed in this game. And once again, here's those superior Amiga sound effects for the time. But what's happening here? A plot twist? Great creative fun writing once again from Sierra Online. You're being watched by none other than the Arnold Schwarzenegger look-alike robot, appropriately titled Arnoid the Annihilator. You can see in his glasses that he's after Roger Wilco on case OU-812. Roger is wanted for vending machine fraud from something that happened in the last game, Space Quest 2. The verdict is terminate Roger Wilco. So now you got this guy coming after you on top of everything else. So you're finishing up your light speed travel and end up looking at the computer. Click Land to land on planet Fleabutt. Your ship, which is named the Aluminum Mallard, a twist on the name Millennium Falcon, lands on the planet and you'll need to type stand to stand up and exit to exit the ship. Now, as you walk out onto the purple stormy planet, you'll have another cutscene back to Arnoid just to make sure that you know he's hot on your trail. We also find out here that Arnoid has a belt that he can use to make himself invisible. How about that? The Terminator robot chasing after you is now also invisible. So Roger goes 2 screens west and 2 screens north. In order to reach the World of Wonders. You can see the alien family bouncing out of the gift shop. The father turns around and says something in alienese, and Fester Blatz walks out and says, "Y'all come back now, you hear?" Once they drive away, he calls them alien scum. The family car is almost a spitting image of the family wagon from National Lampoon's Vacation. Welcome to the World of Wonders. Again, awesome, quirky space music that is just perfect for this game. So you enter the gift shop and Blatz introduces himself to you. Now, one of the first things you want to do here to raise your score is sell your Orium. It's a crystal you already have in your pocket from the Space Quest 2 video game. Deny his offers until he gets to 425 buckazoids, and then accept. Then he offers to sell you a few other things that you'll need to buy. Type buy ORAT. Then buy hat. And finally, buy underwear. Then you can type exit to leave the World of Wonders. Now, this was kind of tricky, at least for me as a 13-year-old boy back in the day. We are immediately caught by Arnoid, and we get this cutscene where Roger is being lifted up by his shirt, and Arnoid explains that he's been looking for him, he is going to terminate Roger, and that he's in a good mood, so he's going to give Roger a 10-second lead. He puts Roger down and disappears. Now, there's actually 2 different ways of getting out of the Arnoid situation, which is so cool that they offered multiple ways of completing the story. But we're going to go with what I feel is the easier of the 2. You're going to head south 2 screens. Then I actually went east 1 screen, which takes you back over to the screen with the rock overhang with the alien monster hanging from the ceiling. Be careful. If you get too close, you'll experience another funny death. But you kind of want to be hanging out just to the right of the alien creature. If you don't notice Arnoid's footprints coming after you, then you might have to go back 1 screen just like I did here. Once you see that he's following after you, then get into position. The alien will eat Arnoid and spit out his remnants. Once it does, you can walk around to the left side and use the stick you bought earlier to get Arnoid's belt. We're now at 248 points. Head one screen east to get back to your ship and hop in. Sit down and look at your computer. Once you turn on the engines and take off, you can look at the computer again to set up your next destination on the nav system. You'll need to scan the map again. And this time you're looking for Monolith Burger. Go ahead and set course. Click Lightspeed, and you're on your way to the McDonald's lookalike named after the monolith from the movie 2001. Welcome to Monolith Burger. As you pull your ship into the docking bay, you can see the USS Enterprise from the Star Trek series taking off after a hearty meal at the fast food chain and shooting off into light speed. Your ship docks, and eventually you pop the hatch and amble on in. You can see that Jabba the Hutt is there in line at the end of the counter. You need to move Roger one screen to the west and make your way over to the available Monolith Burger employee waiting for you at the counter. After the employee asks for your order, type in "Look at menu" to take a peek at what they've got. You can hit the number 7 to order a Monolith Fun Meal. The burger attendee upsells you and then gives you a total. Type in "Pay." And head on over to a table to enjoy your feast. Once you're seated, type "Eat Food" and enjoy. As part of your Fun Meal prize, you'll receive a decoder ring, which comes in handy very soon. And now for a pain in the butt. I've always hated this part. Make your way over to the Astro Chicken arcade game. Type "Look at Game" and you'll be taken to the Astro Chicken main menu. Now, this is a game made by the Scumsoft Corporation, which is a slam on Microsoft. When you type "Insert Buckazoid," you'll be allowed to play the game. The point of the game is to get Astro Chicken to land on the A in the middle 10 times. Sounds simple, right? It's not. The controls in the game are meant to suck on purpose. The reaction to pressing the arrow keys are totally wild, so you really need to play a few times to get a feel for how it works. You also only have so much movement or feed available, so you have to be sparing. When you don't land on the A, Astro Chicken explodes. You only get so many tries, and then it's game over. So as we speed through here, you can see all 10 landings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and finally on the 10th time, you get a secret alien message on the screen. Type in "Use decoder ring" and you'll be given a letter chart which will help you decode the message. Once you finally do decode the message, it reads, "Help us. We're being held captive by Scumsoft on the small moon of Pestulon. An impenetrable force field surrounds the moon. It must first be deactivated. Its origin is unknown to us. Scumsoft security is armed with Jello pistols. We're counting on you, whoever you are." Now that we know where our next stop is, it's time to head back to the ship. And when you do finally make your way over, you'll have to type "Enter ship" to get back in and undock. Now, once you're back in the cockpit, look at the computer. Make sure your engine is running. and get back to that nav system. Scan that map again. And set course for the planet Ortega. Why aren't we going straight to Pestulon? Well, we need to take care of something first before we can save the game creators over on Pestulon. Click Lightspeed. Ortega is a hot planet, and you'll die if you don't have your thermal underwear on. Once you land on Ortega, you'll need to type stand. Type put on underwear, and once those are on, you're primed and ready to exit the ship. Head south one screen from the ship, and then start making your way west. Now be careful when you come around this corner, as the rocks are shaky and could result in you falling to your death. Keep moving one more screen south, where you'll find space pirates monitoring a situation. If you wait long enough, they'll eventually leave. When they do, stand by the telescope and type look through telescope. You'll see that there's a force beam generator protecting the moon of Pestulon. Move to the right of the screen and take the detonators on the ground, and then take the pole to the right of the detonators and keep moving east. On the next screen, you'll need to finagle your way through the rocks to head north. Keep moving north around the rocks to continue. Move one screen west, then up and around the structures to move back one screen east, and eventually make your way around to the giant ladder where you can type climb to get up there. Now, once you climb to the top, be careful and move slowly, because another death is possible for Roger up here. Type drop detonators. The explosion will disable the force field, and you can slowly walk back over to the ladder, type climb again. Roger will begin climbing down, but you've set off a chain reaction of earthquakes, so you'll need to move out of there fast. Make your way west, then south, head one screen south, then back down through the rocks, and west again. Go west two more screens, and then north, where you'll see that the earthquakes have shaken the unstable rocks into the lava below. Only one thing to do to cross here, and that's use pole. Roger will stand back and use his amazing skills to make his way over the gap, and you can finally move eastward again. When you see the ship in the background, head north to get closer, then hop on that aluminum mallard, sit down, and look at the computer system. So get to scanning on the nav system, because we're setting a course for Pestulon. Hit the light speed and we're on our way. Click land to land the ship, and when it's time, the aluminum mallard will set down on the planet. We're now at 468 points. Type stand and exit to view the bold and colorful moon of Pestulon. Head one screen to the east, and you'll immediately jump into a cutscene where Roger witnesses the entrance to an underground layer opening at the Scumsoft headquarters. Several guards will come out of the entrance, and two stay behind to watch. This is your chance. Type wear belt, and then type activate belt to be invisible. When offered the option, make the decision to enter Scumsoft. Make your way past the guards and down to the bottom of the steps, where you'll find a door and keypad. Press the button on the keypad for the doors to open and enter. So here we are on the inside of the Scumsoft evil headquarters at 493 points. We still have a little way to go, but we're not too far off from the end. Head downwards until you see the first door available to your left and enter the room. If you look around, you'll notice that you're in a janitor's closet. Type get overalls to start the process of putting on the janitor's clothes with the trash vaporizer in the pocket. You can move to the right, and it will take you right out of the room and back into the hallway. Continue to make your way down until you get to the next door that appears on your right side and enter that door. This is the entryway to the Scumsoft offices. This whole part is kind of set up to be like a maze, and you get lost a little, but you need to keep playing your role as a janitor while you're finding your way around. Each time you see a full trash can, you need to type use vaporizer to vaporize the trash out of the trash can. The problem is it only works if you're in the exact right spot. So find that sweet spot and make sure you empty all the trash cans as you go, or Roger will get caught. You'll want to make your way to the screen to the west where you see the portrait of the company's founder, Elmo. Type "Take Portrait" while you're near it, and then bring the portrait over to the copy machine. Then type in "Make Copy of Portrait." On your way back, stop and type "Return Portrait" where you found it, and then make your way back one screen to the east, making sure you're still vaporizing trash all along the way. About halfway up the screen, on the starting screen, move one screen west in order to move to the top of the screen and come back one screen east. Once there, you can kind of shimmy your way around, vaporizing trash along the way to make your way to head north. You're now just outside of the head of Scumsoft, Elmo's office. Employees are being whipped by their overseers, as is the case at any Evil Software Corporation facility. So you enter Elmo's office and vaporize the trash. Then leave his office and head one screen east, where you're on the balcony looking over where the aluminum mallard has been parked. Bring Roger back inside, and you'll notice that Elmo is no longer at his desk. Now, this gives you the opportunity to go back in his office and take the key card he left on his desk. Once you take the key card, you're now at 508 points and back on your way out of the office's maze and back into the main hallway. Once you're back in the hallway, continue moving downward until you see a room on the right side with a keypad out front. Type "Use Keycard." Now, this door requires a photo ID as well, so you'll type "Hold Portrait," and the doors will finally open. The moment we've all been waiting for. Our chance to save the game creators that have been kidnapped and held by the evil forces of Scumsoft in a gelatin prison. Type "Push Button," and a walkway will extend so Roger can move across. Once across and close to the guys, type "Use Vaporizer," and the two guys from Andromeda will be released. They thank Roger and explain that they were being punished for putting the message into Astro Chicken and that you need to leave immediately. This is right at the point where the walkway retracts. Turns out that you're completely surrounded and Elmo is there watching and laughing. He explains that he's had enough of the two guys from Andromeda and that he's having you taken to the arena. You're all taken away and led into a dark unknown. At 538 points, we enter the arena for Nukem Dukem Robots. You're led over to your giant silver robot, and once inside, you'll see the instructions for the Nukem Dukem Robots game. It's an easy enough concept, but much like Astro Chicken, takes some getting used to. You gotta land some solid punches and can't waste too much of your energy trying to do it. Eventually, you'll get one final blow in, and Elmo's robot will go toppling over into the side of the arena. This makes a tiny exit possible for you and your new alien pals, and you escape out into the parking lot where your ship was being held. And off we go. We're only at 638 points, so we still have a little work to do. The alien guys are thankful for being saved, but remind you that Elmo has probably got a whole bunch of his pirate spaceships coming after you. And this is the perfect time to look at the computer. Just so we're all on the same page here, make sure you click Attack Speed before getting into this next part. Attack Speed first, and then hit Weapon System to view your target. You'll want to make sure that your back shields are turned on and ready to take a hit from the first pirate ship that flies up from the rear. Once they're in range, you can move your cursor around to lock on and fire. Now move your shield to the front to take frontal damage from the other pirate ships. Move shields to the back. You'll get shot at once more, and then take aim at another ship, lock on, and fire. Move shields to the front again, take the next hit from the next pirate ship, and switch shields to the back again. Once again, a ship will shoot at you from the rear, and then you can lock on and fire away again on another ship. After that ship is destroyed, you'll once again switch shields to the front, switch shields to the back again. Take the hit from the rear, then lock on and fire away at another ship. Now, once more for the final time, switch shields to the front. You'll get shot at by another ship, and then switch the shields to the back for the last time. A ship will fly up from the rear, shoot at you, and then you can lock on and destroy the last ship of the game. The remaining ships give up and head back to the planet. Congratulations, you're now at 738 points. The alien guys are semi-grateful and ask if you can all go celebrate, but unfortunately it looks like Lightspeed is no longer functional. One of the aliens decides to try and fix it himself, and you launch into unknown, out-of-control Lightspeed. Eventually, the ship flies towards a giant black hole and right into it. You tumble through the darkness for some time before reaching a bright light which looks like an entryway to another universe, and finally arrive at Earth. You cut the engines and start the landing process, and the ship just so happens to pick the perfect landing location of the Sierra Online headquarters to land at. The alien dudes get out of the ship and are greeted by Ken Williams, the president and founder of Sierra Online. The aliens explain that they're now out-of-work software engineers, and Ken offers them a job at Sierra Online. Our hero, Roger Wilco, asks if Ken's looking for a janitor, and Ken responds with a simple, no. So poor Roger Wilco is back off into the unknown galaxies, traveling at light speed and preparing for the next chapter, Space Quest 4, Roger Wilco and the Time Rippers. The end. The game then credits a list of different people responsible for the making of the game, like the Pestulon Department of Forestry, Monolith Synthetic Industries Incorporated, Fester's World of Wonders, Gipazoid Novelties, the Fleabut Sand Advisory Council, Arnoid DroidWorks, Caffeinate 90, Orbo Snack Food Inhalers, Friends of the Talking Bear Society. And then they actually thank the people that deserve it for real, like the sound and programming engineers that made this whole game what it is. So that's it, Space Quest 3, The Pirates of Pestulon. Thanks for watching the speedy delivery of Space Quest 3. If you like the walkthrough, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, we'll see you around the neighborhood.